The crystalline spires of Callistris caught the dying light of its moon, refracting it across the surface in shimmering waves of amber and gold. From her observatory atop the highest tower, Elder Solara watched the haunting beauty with a heaviness that had settled deep in her bones. The keening had begun again, a high, thin wail that resonated through the crystalline structures of her world. It was the sound of Callistris dying. "Elder," the soft voice came from behind her. "The council awaits your testimony." Solara turned to face her apprentice, noting how Lyran's translucent skin had grown paler in recent cycles. The energy plague was affecting the younger generations more severely, their crystalline neural pathways more susceptible to the corruption that spread like dark veins through their world. "They won't listen, Lyran," Solara said, her voice melodic despite her weariness. "The High Council believes our pacifism will protect us, as it has for 10,000 years. Lyran moved closer, the facets of her eyes catching the fading light. "But your research, the star charts?" "Yes." Solara gestured to the ancient patterns projected across her workspace. "I've decoded references to beings called the Children of Earth. They exist beyond the void between galactic arms, and they are different from us." "Different how?" Solara's multi-jointed fingers traced the patterns. "They build weapons, Lyran. They defend themselves." The younger Citrari recoiled slightly, the instinctive reaction of their species to the concept of violence. For millennia, the Citrari had evolved beyond physical conflict, their crystalline minds devoted to philosophy, art, and the peaceful exploration of their sector of space. "The Council will never approve contact with such beings," Lyran whispered. "The Council may not have a choice." Solara gestured toward the window, where the faint, purple haze of the energy plague storms gathered on the horizon. "Our time grows short." The High Council chamber was a perfect sphere hollowed from a single, massive crystal, its interior facets designed to amplify and distribute the thoughts and voices of all who gathered within. 50 elders, their crystalline forms dulled by age and wisdom, arrayed themselves in concentric rings. At the center stood High Counselor Zenith, oldest of their kind. "Elder Solara," Zenith's voice resonated through the chamber. "You come before us again with your concerning proposal." Solara moved to the center, her form straight and dignified despite the exhaustion that threatened to crack her resolve. "Honorable elders, the energy plague has consumed 40% of our habitable regions. Our best minds have failed to halt its spread. I propose we seek external aid." "From these humans you've discovered in the ancient texts?" another elder asked, voice thick with skepticism. "Yes. The Children of Earth have faced adversities we cannot comprehend. They've developed technologies focused on defense and protection." "Weapons," Zenith corrected, the word sending a ripple of discomfort through the assembly. "You propose we invite beings who create tools of destruction to our sacred world." Solara's inner light pulsed with frustration. "I propose we survive, Counselor. The plague will reach our central crystalline heart within 2 cycles. When it does, our entire civilization, all our knowledge, philosophy, and art will be extinguished." For 3 hours, the debate continued, voices rising and falling in the perfect acoustics of the chamber. Solara presented her evidence: the decoded star charts, the trajectory of the plague, the failed attempts at containment. But with each passing moment, she saw the immovable wall of tradition before her. Finally, Zenith raised his hands for silence. "We have heard Elder Solara's arguments. Now, we shall vote. Those in favor of seeking aid from these weapon-wielding outsiders?" 12 lights flickered in affirmation. Those opposed? 38 lights blazed in opposition. "The Council has spoken," Zenith announced. "We will face our fate with dignity, not compromise our principles in desperation." As the Council dispersed, Lyran approached her mentor, eyes dimmed with disappointment. "What now, Elder?" Solara watched the elders depart, their crystalline forms catching the light. "The council has made its decision," she said, loud enough for those nearby to hear. Then, in a whisper, meant only for Lyran, "But I have made mine." That night, as the purple haze of the plague storm crept closer to the central spires, Solara ascended to her observatory alone. The quantum transmitter, a device she had secretly constructed over many cycles, hummed with potential energy. It was the only one of its kind on Callistris, designed to send a signal far beyond their isolated corner of the galaxy. Her hands trembled as she calibrated the device. What she was about to do violated thousands of years of Citrari non-interference doctrine. Yet she could not watch her world die when salvation might exist among the stars. With a final prayer to the cosmic harmony, Solara activated the transmitter. A beam of pure, coherent light shot upward, carrying with it the distilled knowledge of Callistris, the nature of the plague, and a simple message in the ancient, universal language. "Help us. We are dying. We cannot save ourselves." The message streaked outward, beyond their solar system, beyond their stellar cluster, into the vast unknown between galactic arms, toward the coordinates where, according to the ancient texts, the children of Earth might be found. As the transmission completed, Solara slumped against her console. "Forgive me," she whispered to her absent peers. "But sometimes survival must come before principle." Outside, the keening of her dying world grew louder, the crystal spires vibrating with a dirge that echoed across the stars. Captain Maya Nakamura stood on the bridge of the USS Vigilant, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The deep space vessel hovered at the edge of charted territory, its mission of exploration temporarily paused by the unexpected signal that had arrived 6 hours earlier. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chill that had settled in her spine since the first transmission. Lieutenant Reyes nodded, his fingers dancing across the control panel. The holographic display shimmered, and once more the strange, haunting message filled the bridge. Part language, part mathematical equation, part desperate plea. "Help us. We are dying. We cannot save ourselves." "Analysis. Dr. Farouk?" Maya turned to the ship's chief scientist, a tall man with thoughtful eyes and a perpetual furrow between his brows. Dr. Amir Farouk gestured, expanding a portion of the holographic data. "The transmission is unlike anything in our databases. Captain, the mathematical components suggest an advanced civilization, possibly Type 2 on the Kardashev scale. But the most interesting element is this." He isolated a strand of code. "It's a genetic sequence, but not carbon-based. The closest analog I can determine is a silicon crystalline life form." "Sentient crystals?" Lieutenant Reyes raised an eyebrow. "Oversimplified, but essentially correct," Dr. Farouk confirmed. "And they're describing some form of energy-based pathogen that's destroying their neural pathways." Maya paced the bridge, weighing the options before her. The Vigilant was a scientific and exploratory vessel, not a medical ship. Moreover, their orders were explicit. Chart the region, collect data. Avoid first contact scenarios without prior authorization. "The signal's origin is 3 light-years from our position," Officer Kowalski added from the navigation station. "We could reach it in 26 hours at maximum hyperdrive." Maya felt the eyes of her crew upon her. This was the moment Command had warned about during her training, the point where regulations and humanity might diverge. "Captain," Lieutenant Reyes spoke up, "we took an oath to explore, but also to render aid when possible. These beings, whatever they are, have technology advanced enough to reach us. They're asking for help." "It could be a trap," Security Chief Volkov countered. "Or we could introduce diseases to each other's populations. First contact protocols exist for a reason." Maya held up a hand, silencing the debate. "Dr. Farouk, your assessment of the plague they describe?" The scientist frowned. "From the data transmitted, it's a form of energy that corrupts their crystalline neural structures. Something like a computer virus might affect our systems. It's not biological in the way we understand disease. The risk of cross-contamination to humans is minimal. And our ability to help them? Dr. Farouk hesitated. Unknown. But our nanotech medical systems are adaptable. If we could study the pathogen directly, there's a possibility. Maya nodded, decision crystallizing. Officer Kowalski, set course for the signal's origin. Lieutenant Reyes, prepare a first contact protocol. Dr. Farouk, I want every available resource dedicated to understanding this plague. We'll send regular updates to command, but we're not waiting for authorization. Captain, Volkov began, regulations state. I'm well aware of regulations. Chief, Maya interrupted. I'm also aware that by the time authorization comes through, these beings could be extinct. Some principles transcend protocol. She straightened her uniform. I'll take full responsibility for this decision. Now, to your stations. As her crew moved with renewed purpose, Maya gazed at the distant stars, visible through the view screen. Somewhere out there, a civilization was dying, reaching across the void in a final act of hope. She would not let that hope die unanswered. Hyperdrive engaged, Captain, Kowalski announced. ETA to destination, 26 hours, 14 minutes. The Vigilant surged forward, leaving charted space behind as it raced toward the desperate call that had bridged the gulf between worlds. 16 hours into their journey, the Vigilant shuddered violently, throwing Maya from her command chair. Red alert klaxons blared as the ship dropped unexpectedly from hyperdrive. Status report, she demanded, pulling herself back to her feet. Hyperdrive fluctuation, Captain, Engineer Torres called from her station, fingers flying across diagnostic screens. The crystalline resonance from the SOS signal has created harmonic feedback in our drive crystals. Maya moved to the engineering station. Can you fix it? Torres grimaced. Yes, but I'll need to recalibrate the entire drive matrix. 4 hours, minimum. 4 hours they didn't have. Maya felt the weight of her decision pressing down harder. Options. We could continue at sublight speed, Kowalski suggested. But it would take years to reach the destination. Or we could reconfigure the drive to operate at 70% capacity, Torres added. It would be unstable, but we could reach the system in another 18 hours instead of 4 days. Unstable how? Maya asked. As in potential catastrophic drive failure if pushed too hard, Torres admitted. But I can rig emergency shutdown protocols. Maya closed her eyes briefly, centering herself. The lives of her crew balanced against an entire civilization. How could she weigh such things? Captain, Dr. Farouk approached, tablet in hand. I've been analyzing the transmission further. Based on the progression rate of their plague, I estimate their central population centers have less than 30 hours remaining. The decision crystallized. Engineer Torres, reconfigure the drive. Lieutenant Reyes, I want all non-essential personnel in stasis pods as a precaution. We'll proceed with the skeleton crew. Captain, I must formally register my objection. Volkov stated. This violates at least 6 Starfleet safety protocols. Noted. Chief? Maya met his gaze steadily. But sometimes the right choice isn't in the rulebook. The next 12 hours passed in tense silence as the Vigilant limped through space, its hyperdrive emitting ominous harmonics that resonated throughout the ship. Maya remained on the bridge, refusing rest despite her crew's concerns. How could she sleep when each moment brought them closer to either salvation or disaster? In her quieter moments, doubt crept in. Was she risking her crew on a fool's errand? What if they arrived too late? What if they couldn't help? The weight of command had never felt heavier. Captain, Kowalski's voice broke through her thoughts. We're approaching the target system. Maya straightened in her chair. Drop to sublight speed, full sensor sweep. The view screen flickered as the stars reappeared from the hyperdrive distortion. Before them, lay a star system with 3 inner planets and a gas giant with multiple moons. The second planet glowed with an unnatural purple haze that swirled across its surface. "Life signs?" Maya asked. "Affirmative," Lieutenant Reyes reported. "Concentrated in crystalline structures on the planet's surface. But they're fluctuating, weakening." "And the plague?" Dr. Farouk studied his readings with growing concern. "It's worse than their transmission indicated. The energy signature is consuming the planet's surface like wildfire. Those purple storms, they're not atmospheric. They're the plague itself." Maya felt a cold certainty settle in her stomach. They had arrived in time, but barely. "Prepare a landing party. Dr. Farouk, you'll lead the scientific team. Lieutenant Reyes, security detail. Full containment protocols." "Captain," Volkov interrupted, pointing to a secondary display. "We're not alone." Maya turned to see 3 dark shapes emerging from behind the system's outer moon. Ships of unfamiliar design, their hulls black and angular, reflecting no light. "Scan those vessels," she ordered. Lieutenant Reyes worked his console. "Unknown configuration, Captain. But they're heavily armed and their energy signature. It matches the plague on the planet's surface." The realization struck like a physical blow. "They're not here to help. They're the cause." Maya's voice hardened. "Battle stations! Shield at maximum!" As the crew rushed to their positions, Maya stared at the alien ships with growing resolve. They had come to answer a cry for help, only to find themselves facing the very threat that had prompted it. "Captain," Communications Officer Park called out. "We're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's on the same frequency as the original SOS." "On screen," Maya ordered. The view screen shifted to show a being unlike any Maya had seen. Humanoid in general shape, but composed of translucent crystal that caught and refracted light. Its features were alien, yet expressive, radiating both hope and fear. "I am Elder Solara of Callistris," the being said, its voice melodic despite the obvious strain. You came. The children of Earth came." Maya stepped forward. "I am Captain Maya Nakamura of the Earth vessel Vigilant. We received your distress call." "You risk much to answer strangers," Solara observed, her crystalline features shifting in what might have been amazement. "It's what humans do," Maya replied simply. "We've detected other ships in your system. They appear to be connected to the plague affecting your world." Solara's form dimmed slightly. "The Varaxis Syndicate. They arrived shortly after our council rejected my proposal to seek external aid. They offered salvation, but brought only destruction, testing their energy weapons on our defenseless world." "Why would they do this?" Maya asked. "Resources. Our crystals are rare in this galaxy. They grow more valuable if there are no Citrari left to claim them." Solara's voice hardened. "Captain Nakamura, my people are pacifists. We have no defenses, no weapons. In hours, the plague will reach our central core, and the last of us will fade." Maya's decision was immediate. "We will help you, Elder Solara. The Vigilant stands with Callistris." As Solara's image faded from the screen, Maya turned to her crew. "Change of plans. Dr. Farouk, I need options for combating this plague. Kowalski, position us between those ships and the planet. Torres, divert all available power to shields and weapons." "Captain," Volkov said quietly, "we're outmatched 3-1. Maya met his gaze. "Then, we'll have to be smarter, won't we?" She turned to the view screen, watching as the Varaxis ships adjusted their course toward the Vigilant. "We didn't come all this way to watch a civilization die." The descent to Callistris was unlike anything the landing party had experienced. Their shuttle passed through swirling clouds of purple energy that sent the sensors into chaos. Below, the crystalline cities glittered like jewels, their once perfect geometries now fractured and dimming. Dr. Farouk watched the readings on his tablet with growing concern. The plague isn't just destroying their structures, it's literally consuming the energy that sustains their consciousness. Lieutenant Reyes peered through the viewport. Those dark veins spreading through the crystals. Is that the infection? Yes, Dr. Farouk confirmed. It's like watching a neural network being systematically corrupted. He turned to the lieutenant. When we land, full containment protocols. We don't know how this energy might interact with our technology or biology. The shuttle touched down on a crystalline platform adjacent to the tallest spire, Solara's observatory, according to their coordinates. As the team disembarked in their containment suits, they were met by a small group of Citrari, their translucent forms noticeably dimmed compared to Solara's transmission. Elder Solara herself stood at the forefront, her crystalline structure showing dark veins of corruption spreading from her base. Beside her, a younger Citrari, presumably Lyran, regarded the humans with fascination and apprehension. "Welcome to Callistris," Solara greeted them, her voice resonating through their helmets. "Though I fear you find us in our final hours." Dr. Farouk stepped forward, medical scanner in hand. "Elder Solara, I'm Dr. Amir Farouk. With your permission, I'd like to begin analyzing the plague immediately." Before Solara could respond, shouting erupted from behind her. A group of Citrari elders approached, their movements agitated. "What have you done, Solara?" One of them, recognizable as High Counselor Zenith, demanded. "You've brought weapon wielders to our sacred world." "I've brought hope, Zenith," Solara replied firmly. "While you and the Council prepared for a dignified extinction." Zenith turned to the humans, his crystalline form vibrating with emotion. "Your kind is not welcome here. Your very existence contradicts our most sacred principles." Lieutenant Reyes tensed, hand instinctively moving toward his sidearm, a gesture that sent ripples of alarm through the gathered Citrari. "See," Zenith pointed, "they bring instruments of death even now." Dr. Farouk stepped between them. "We bring help," he said calmly. "Your principles are admirable, Counselor, but they won't save your people from extinction. We might." "At what cost?" Zenith demanded. "Becoming like you, creatures who solve problems with destruction." Lyran moved forward suddenly. "Counselor, please, look around you. Our world is dying. If these humans can help..." "They'll contaminate more than our bodies," Zenith interrupted. "They'll contaminate our very way of life." The debate might have continued, but at that moment, the ground beneath them shuddered violently. In the distance, a massive crystal tower cracked and collapsed, sending shards flying in all directions. "The central core is destabilizing," Solara explained urgently. "We have hours, not days." Dr. Farouk turned to Zenith. "Counselor, I understand your concerns, but right now, extinction is your alternative. Let us help you, and afterward, your people can decide which principles to keep and which to reconsider." For a long moment, Zenith stood immobile. Then, slowly, the light within him dimmed in acquiescence. "Do what you must, human. But know that some of us would rather fade with our principles intact than survive without them." As the counselor departed, Solara turned to Dr. Farouk. "Come, I will show you to our medical facilities, such as they are. Perhaps together we can find what our scientists could not." While Dr. Farouk and his team followed Solara into the spire, Lieutenant Reyes remained outside with half the security team, establishing a perimeter and monitoring the Varaxis ships in orbit. "Captain," he reported via comlink, "we're on the surface. The situation is dire. The Citrari leadership is divided, but we've secured cooperation from Elder Solara." Maya's voice came through, punctuated by static. "Understood, Lieutenant. Be advised. The Varaxis ships are maintaining orbital position, but they're charging weapons. Whatever you and Dr. Farouk can do down there, do it quickly. We may not be able to hold them off indefinitely." Lieutenant Reyes acknowledged the warning. then gazed up at the purple haze sky where the Vigilant, tiny from this distance, maintained its protective position between Callistris and its attackers. "They're going to need more than our ship for defense," he muttered to himself, an idea beginning to form. In orbit, Maya watched the Varaxis ships with growing concern. The Vigilant was advanced, but it wasn't a warship. Against 3 heavily armed vessels, their chances were slim. "Captain," Communications Officer Park called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead Varaxis ship." "On screen," Maya ordered, squaring her shoulders. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a humanoid figure with gray skin and cybernetic implants that covered half its face. Its eyes were cold, calculating. "Terran vessel," the figure stated without preamble. "This is Commander Krex of the Varaxis Syndicate. You have entered a restricted zone. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Maya stepped forward. "This is Captain Nakamura of the USS Vigilant. We're responding to a distress call from the planet Callistris. Your ships are conducting what appears to be biological warfare against a pacifist civilization. Explain yourselves." Krex's expression didn't change. The Citrari possess resources vital to Syndicate interests. Their refusal to trade necessitated more direct acquisition methods. "The energy matrix we've deployed will eliminate the indigenous population while preserving the crystal structures." The cold calculation in his voice sent a chill down Maya's spine. "You're committing genocide for mining rights?" "We're conducting business," Krex corrected. "A concept your species understands well, according to our intelligence. Perhaps we could reach an accommodation, a share of the crystal harvest in exchange for your non-interference." Maya's expression hardened. "Here's my counteroffer, Commander. Deactivate your weapons and withdraw from this system, or face the consequences." Krex actually smiled, a disturbing sight on his half-mechanical face. "Your vessel is outmatched, Captain. You have 1 hour to reconsider before we resume our operation." The transmission cut. "Options?" Maya turned to her officers. "Their ships are heavily armed, but their shield configuration suggests a vulnerability to concentrated phaser fire at their engine junctions." Tactical Officer Liu reported, "We could modify our deflector dish to disrupt the plague's energy pattern," Torres suggested. "It won't eliminate it, but it might slow its spread." Maya nodded. "Do it, and prepare for evasive maneuvers. When they attack, and they will, I want us ready." On the surface, Dr. Farouk worked feverishly in the Citrari medical chamber, a cathedral-like space where crystalline technology merged with the living architecture. Samples of infected crystal glowed purple under his scanners, while unaffected samples shimmered with golden light. "The plague is extraordinary," he explained to Solara and Lyran. "It's a self-replicating energy pattern that rewrites the molecular structure of your crystalline forms, converting your natural resonance to its own destructive frequency." "Can it be stopped?" Lyran asked, the hope in her voice fragile. Dr. Farouk examined his findings. "Possibly. Your attempts at containment failed because you tried to block the energy. But energy can't be blocked. It can only be redirected or transformed." He looked up. "We need to create a counter-resonance, a frequency that will neutralize the plague's pattern." "Our scientists attempted similar approaches," Solara noted. "All failed." "Because your technology is crystal-based," Dr. Farouk realized. "You're trying to fight the infection with tools made of the same material it infects. It's like trying to extinguish a fire with wood." He activated his comlink. "Lieutenant Reyes, I need all our portable nanotech synthesizers brought to the medical chamber immediately." While they waited, Lyran approached Dr. Farouk hesitantly. "These nanobots you speak of, are they weapons?" The question gave him pause. "They're tools, Lyran, like any tool. Their nature depends on how they're used. We've designed ours to heal, not harm." "But they could be weapons," she pressed, "if you chose to make them so." "Yes," he admitted. "The same technology that can repair cellular damage could, theoretically, cause it." Lyran's crystalline form dimmed slightly. This is what the Council fears. Not just violence itself, but the constant possibility of it. The temptation. Dr. Farouk considered her words carefully. Perhaps the difference between our peoples isn't that humans embrace violence while Citrari reject it. Perhaps it's that we've accepted that the capacity for both creation and destruction exists in all technology, and indeed, in ourselves. He gestured to his equipment. These nanobots can save your people, but only because we developed them with the understanding that power must be controlled, not denied. Before Lyran could respond, Lieutenant Reyes arrived with the requested equipment. Doctor, we've got a situation outside. The plague storms are intensifying, and our sensors show the Varaxis ships are preparing for another orbital bombardment. Dr. Farouk turned to his work with renewed urgency. I need time to program the nanobots to counteract the plague's specific frequency. Time is one thing we don't have, Lieutenant Reyes said grimly. But I might have a solution for that. He turned to Solara. Elder, your quantum transmitter, the one you used to send the SOS, could it be modified to disrupt the Varaxis ship's communication systems? Solara's inner light pulsed with surprise. Yes, but that would be an offensive action. It would be a defensive action, Reyes corrected. Buying time to save your people without directly harming theirs. Solara and Lyran exchanged looks, a silent communication that seemed to pass directly between their crystalline minds. I will help you modify the transmitter, Lyran said finally. If this is what survival requires, then perhaps it's time for the Citrari to evolve. While Lieutenant Reyes and Lyran hurried to the observatory, Dr. Farouk continued his work. The nanobots, microscopic machines designed to repair human cellular damage, would need complete reprogramming to interact with crystalline life forms. I need a direct neural link with a healthy Citrari, he told Solara, to understand your baseline structure. Without hesitation, Solara extended a crystalline appendage. Will this cause you harm, Dr. Farouk? He smiled reassuringly as he attached a neural interface. No more than a slight discomfort. And please, call me Amir. As the interface activated, Dr. Farouk gasped. The Citrari consciousness was unlike anything he had encountered. A vast, crystalline network of thought, memory, and emotion, structured with mathematical precision, yet flowing with organic grace. Extraordinary, he whispered, fingers flying across his controls as he mapped the patterns. Your neural pathways aren't just similar to our computer systems. They're infinitely more complex. Quantum computing made manifest in living crystal. We are thought given form, Solara confirmed, as you are form given thought. The insight struck Dr. Farouk like lightning. That's it. The plague isn't just attacking your physical structure, it's corrupting your thought patterns themselves. He adjusted his programming rapidly. The nanobots need to carry not just a counter-frequency, but a counter-thought, a piece of uncorrupted Citrari consciousness to rewrite what's been damaged. In the observatory above, Lieutenant Reyes watched as Lyran worked with surprising speed to modify the quantum transmitter. Her crystalline hands moved through the complex machinery with practiced grace, despite the dark veins of corruption now spreading visibly through her form. You're dying, he observed quietly. Lyran's movements didn't slow. Yes, the younger generations are more susceptible to the plague. Our neural patterns are more adaptable. I'm sorry. Don't be, she replied, her voice musical despite her condition. For the first time in my existence, I'm taking action to determine my fate, rather than merely accepting it. She connected a final circuit. There. The transmitter is reconfigured to emit a disruption pulse on the Varaxis communication frequency. Lieutenant Reyes moved to the activation console. This won't stop them permanently. It doesn't need to, Lyran said. It only needs to give Dr. Farouk time to complete his work. She paused, inner light fluctuating. Lieutenant, May I ask you something? Of course. Your people are capable of such violence. You carry weapons, build warships. Yet you came here, risking yourselves for strangers. Why? Reyes considered the question. Because we can choose. Violence is a tool we keep in reserve, not because we embrace it, but because sometimes protecting life requires facing those who don't value it. He gestured to the modified transmitter. Just as you're choosing now to take action that your council would consider inappropriate, because the alternative is worse. Lyran's crystalline features shifted in what might have been a smile. Perhaps our peoples are not so different after all. Their conversation was interrupted by the building's sudden tremor. Outside, the purple storm intensified, lightning-like discharges of energy, striking the crystalline spires with increasing frequency. They've begun the bombardment, Lieutenant Reyes realized, activating his comlink. Captain, the Varaxis are attacking again. We're activating the disruptor now. Hurry, Lieutenant, Maya's voice came through, strained. We're taking heavy fire up here. Lyran and Reyes exchanged a look. Then together, they activated the quantum transmitter. The device hummed to life, emitting a beam of coherent energy that shot toward the Varaxis ships in orbit. In space, the Vigilant rolled to avoid another barrage from the lead Varaxis vessel. Its shields flickered dangerously, power reserves dropping. Shields at 38%. Captain, Torres reported, we can't take much more of this. Maya gripped her command chair as another impact rocked the ship. Maintain position between them and the planet. Target their weapons arrays and... Captain, Kowalski interrupted. Something's happening to the Varaxis ships. Their weapons fire is becoming erratic. On the view screen, the 3 enemy vessels seemed to falter, their previously coordinated attack pattern dissolving into disarray. They've lost communications with each other, Tactical Officer Liu realized. And their targeting systems are malfunctioning. Maya saw their opportunity. Target the lead ship's propulsion system. Fire! The Vigilance phasers lanced out, striking the Varaxis vessel precisely at the junction of its engines. The ship listed to one side, auxiliary power flickering. The surface team did it, Maya said with grim satisfaction. Now we press our advantage. Prepare to... Captain, Communications Officer Park interrupted. Dr. Farouk is reporting success. They've synthesized a counteragent to the plague, but they need our help to distribute it planet-wide. Maya made a split-second decision. Kowalski, bring us into low orbit. Torres, prepare to modify our deflector dish according to Dr. Farouk's specifications. She turned to Liu. Keep those ships occupied. Fire at will. On the surface, Dr. Farouk watched as the first batch of reprogrammed nanobots interacted with a sample of infected crystal. The purple corruption receded, replaced by healthy golden light that spread outward, like ripples in a pond. It works, he breathed, hardly daring to believe it. The nanobots are rewriting the plague's energy pattern, restoring your natural resonance. Solara's inner light pulsed with hope. But there are too few. The planet's infection is vast. That's where your ship comes in, Dr. Farouk explained, contacting the Vigilant. Captain, the nanobots are effective, but we need to distribute them through the planet's atmosphere. If you can modify your deflector dish to emit the same frequency and pattern. Understood, Doctor, Maya replied, sending a shuttle to retrieve the prototype nanobots now. As they waited, a violent tremor shook the medical chamber. Cracks appeared in the crystalline walls, and the dark veins of corruption spread visibly before their eyes. The central core is failing, Solara said urgently. If it collapses, all Citrari consciousness will be lost, even if the physical structures remain. Dr. Farouk checked his readings. The shuttle will arrive in minutes, but the core might not last that long. Then we must go to it, Solara decided. The core chamber is directly beneath us. My presence might stabilize it temporarily. They hurried through fracturing corridors, the once perfect crystalline architecture now crumbling around them. Other Citrari fled in the opposite direction, their forms dimmed almost to invisibility, dark veins of corruption spreading through them. The central core chamber was a vast geodesic dome. At its center, a massive crystal that pulsed with the collective consciousness of the Citrari civilization. But now, that light was failing, purple corruption spreading inward from its edges. "The heart of our world," Solara said, her voice heavy with emotion. 10,000 years of thought, art, philosophy, all fading. Dr. Farouk set up his equipment, preparing the remaining nanobots. "It's not over yet, Elder." Above them, the Vigilant moved into position, its deflector dish reconfigured to Dr. Farouk's specifications. On the bridge, Maya watched as Torres made the final adjustments. "Ready, Captain," the engineer reported. "But this will drain our remaining shield power. We'll be defenseless." Maya nodded grimly. "The Varaxis ships are regrouping. We'll have one chance at this." She opened a channel to the surface. "Dr. Farouk, we're in position. Prepare for atmospheric dispersal." "Ready, Captain," came the reply. "On your mark." Maya took a deep breath. "Initiate now." The Vigilance deflector dish glowed golden as it emitted a carefully calibrated beam toward Callistras's atmosphere. The energy pattern spread outward, carrying the nanobot signature throughout the planet's air currents. On the surface, Dr. Farouk and Solara watched as golden mist began to permeate the core chamber, interacting with the purple corruption. Where they met, the darkness receded, crystal structures regaining their natural luster. "It's working," Dr. Farouk said, relief evident in his voice. But their celebration was premature. On the view screen in the chamber, they could see the Varaxis ships recovering, moving into attack formation once more. "The Vigilant is defenseless," Lieutenant Reyes reported, having joined them in the core chamber. "And the dispersal isn't complete." Solara straightened, decision crystallizing. "Then we must take more direct action." She turned to Lyran, who had accompanied them. "Prepare the evacuation transports. Get as many of our people to safety as possible." "Elder," Lyran questioned, shocked, "you speak of abandoning Callistris?" "I speak of preserving our people," Solara corrected. "Our knowledge, our consciousness, these are what matter, not the crystal that houses them." She turned to Dr. Farouk. "Your nanobots have given us a chance. Now we must seize it." In orbit, the Vigilant rocked as the first renewed Varaxis attack struck its unshielded hull. "Direct hit to decks 3 and 4, Torres reported. "Emergency force fields holding. But we can't take another hit like that." Maya's mind raced. The dispersal was working. Sensors showed the plague receding across Callistras's surface, but the Varaxis weren't going to let them complete the process. "Captain," Communications Officer Park called out. "I'm receiving a transmission from Elder Solara." "On screen," Maya ordered. Solara's face appeared, more vibrant than before, the nanobots clearly working on her form. "Captain Nakamura, you've given us a chance for survival. Now let us help you. We have evacuation ships hidden beneath our central city. They're unarmed, but their crystalline hulls can amplify your weapon signatures, if coordinated properly." Maya understood immediately. "A reflected attack pattern. Torres, can we modify our remaining phaser banks to synchronize with the Citrari ships?" "Yes, Captain," Torres confirmed. "But they'd need to position themselves precisely." "We will," Solara assured them. "The evacuation has begun. Our ships will launch in minutes." True to her word, dozens of crystalline vessels began rising from Callistras's surface. Unlike the angular darkness of the Varaxis ships, these were elegant, translucent crafts that caught and refracted light like prisms. "Ingenious," Maya breathed. "They've been building escape ships all along, disguised as architectural elements." The Citrari vessels formed a precise geometric pattern around the Vigilant, their crystalline structures beginning to resonate with the ship's energy signature. "Target the lead Varaxis vessel," Maya ordered. "Full power to remaining phaser banks." The Vigilant fired a single, concentrated beam, which then split and refracted through the Citrari ships, multiplying and amplifying until dozens of energy beams converged on the Varaxis flagship from all directions simultaneously. The enemy vessel's shields collapsed under the geometrically perfect assault, and its weapon systems went offline. "The other Varaxis ships are retreating," Liu reported, disbelief in his voice. "No," Maya corrected, watching the tactical display. "They're regrouping for a final assault." She opened a channel to the surface. "Dr. Farouk, status of the cure distribution?" 86% complete, Captain," he replied. "We need another few minutes for total planetary coverage." Maya nodded to herself. "Then we'll give you those minutes." She turned to her crew. "Prepare for close-quarters combat. We're going to engage the Varaxis flagship directly." "Captain?" Kowalski questioned. "They need time. Lieutenant, we're going to give it to them." She activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, prepare for direct engagement. This is not a battle we can win from a distance." The Vigilant surged forward, phasers firing continuously as it closed with the damaged Varaxis flagship. The crystalline Citrari ships followed in perfect formation, continuing to amplify and redirect the Vigilant's energy weapons. "Their shields are failing," Liu reported, "but ours are non-existent. Any direct hit will cause significant damage." "Evasive pattern delta," Maya ordered. "Keep their weapons focused on us, not the planet." The gambit worked. The Varaxis vessels turned their attention fully to the Vigilant, their energy weapons scorching the Earthship's hull, but missing the vulnerable Citrari evacuation fleet. On the surface, Dr. Farouk watched the space battle through the core chamber's viewscreen. "The captain is buying us time," he told Solara. "The cure distribution is at 93%. Lieutenant Reyes studied the tactical display. "The Varaxis flagship's main plague emitter is still active. As long as it remains operational, the cure will be fighting a losing battle." Solara's crystalline form straightened with resolve. "Then we must deactivate it." She turned to Lyran. "Prepare a transport. We're going to board their flagship." "Elder!" Lyran protested. "That would violate every principle of non-interference our people hold sacred." "Our principles mean nothing if our people are extinct," Solara replied. "I've watched the Council's inaction bring us to the brink of annihilation. I will not make the same mistake." Dr. Farouk exchanged a look with Lieutenant Reyes. "We're coming with you." "This is not your fight," Solara objected. "With respect, Elder," Lieutenant Reyes said, checking his phaser. "It became our fight the moment we answered your call." In orbit, the Vigilant executed another daring maneuver, drawing the Varaxis ships into a pursuit pattern that kept them away from the planet's atmosphere, where the golden mist of nanobots continued to spread. "Hull breaches on decks 5 through 7, Torres reported, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Emergency force fields failing." Maya gripped her command chair as another impact rocked the bridge. "Maintain course. Keep them focused on us." "Captain," Communications Officer Park called out. "I'm receiving a transmission from Lieutenant Reyes." "Put him through!" "Captain." Reyes's voice came through, punctuated by static. "Elder Solara and I are leading a boarding party to the Varaxis flagship. Dr. Farouk has identified the main plague emitter. If we can disable it, the cure will work permanently." Maya processed this information rapidly. "Understood, Lieutenant. We'll create a diversion." She turned to tactical. "Target the Varaxis flagship's shield generators. Everything we've got left." The Vigilant's remaining phasers lanced out, striking the enemy vessel precisely where its shields were weakest. For a moment, a section of the Varaxis ship's hull was exposed, just long enough for a small crystalline transport to slip through. Aboard the Varaxis flagship, chaos reigned as the boarding party materialized in a seldom-used cargo bay. Lieutenant Reyes took point, phaser at the ready, while Solara and Lyran used their natural ability to interface with technology to access the ship's systems. "The plague emitter is 3 decks up," Solara reported, her crystalline form glowing as she processed the ship's data. "It's heavily guarded." "Then, we'll need a distraction," Lieutenant Reyes decided. He handed Dr. Farouk a small device. "This will disrupt their internal sensors. Plant it in their auxiliary control room, 1 deck down." As they moved through the ship, they encountered scattered resistance. Varaxis crew members whose expressions changed from shock to fear at the sight of the crystalline beings they had been attempting to eradicate. Lieutenant Reyes's phaser, set to stun, proved effective, while Solara and Lyran demonstrated surprising adaptability, using their ability to interface with technology to seal doors and disable weapon systems. "For pacifists," Reyes observed, after Lyran had trapped 2 Varaxis guards in a force field, "you're remarkably effective in combat situations." "We abhor violence," Lyran corrected, "not strategic thinking. These are different concepts, though your species often conflates them." They reached a junction where they would need to split up. Dr. Farouk to the auxiliary control room, Lieutenant Reyes and the Citrari to the plague emitter. "Be careful," Dr. Farouk told them. "The emitter will be heavily shielded. You'll need to access its control systems directly." "We understand," Solara assured him. "Our crystalline structure allows us to interface with most technologies. Once we reach the emitter, we can disable it from within." As Dr. Farouk headed toward the auxiliary control room, Lieutenant Reyes led Solara and Lyran upward through the ship. The Varaxis crew, now alerted to their presence, had begun to organize a more coordinated defense. "They're sealing the access ways," Lyran reported, interfacing with a wall panel, "trying to trap us." Lieutenant Reyes studied the ship's schematic that Solara had downloaded. "There's another route through their ventilation system. It'll be tight, but we can make it." The trio squeezed through maintenance access points, avoiding the main corridors where Varaxis security teams searched for them. As they crawled through the cramped spaces, Reyes noticed the dark veins of corruption still visible in Solara's crystalline form. "The plague still affects you," he observed quietly. "Yes," she acknowledged. "The cure is working, but slowly. Some damage may be permanent." She paused. "A fair price for my people's survival." They emerged near the plague emitter control room, a vast chamber dominated by a pulsing purple core that sent waves of corrupt energy down toward the planet below. "There," Solara indicated, her voice barely audible. "The emitter's neural interface. If I can connect to it, I can reverse its polarity." "It'll be guarded," Lieutenant Reyes warned, peering around the corner. Inside the chamber, several Varaxis technicians monitored the emitter's output, while armed guards patrolled the perimeter. At the center stood Commander Krex himself, his cybernetic implants glowing with the same purple energy as the plague. "He's connected to it," Lyran realized. "The plague is part of him." Lieutenant Reyes assessed the situation. "We need a diversion." At that moment, the ship shuddered violently as another barrage from the Vigilant struck its hull. Alarms blared, and several of the technicians rushed to auxiliary stations. "Now," Reyes decided, activating his comlink. "Dr. Farouk, initiate the sensor disruption." Seconds later, the lights in the emitter chamber flickered and died, replaced by dim emergency lighting. The guards moved in practiced patterns, securing the perimeter. "Go," Lieutenant Reyes told Solara. "I'll cover you." While Reyes fired precise stun blasts to disable the guards, Solara glided toward the emitter's control interface, her crystalline form nearly invisible in the dim light. Lyran followed, ready to assist with the complex technology. Commander Krex, alerted by the commotion, turned just as Solara reached the interface. "Citrari," he spat, recognition dawning. "How dare you board my vessel?" Solara didn't respond. her focus entirely on connecting with the emitter's systems. As her crystalline appendages merged with the control interface, she gasped. The corruption within the technology was far worse than she had anticipated. "The plague," she told Lyran. "It's evolved beyond the parameters Dr. Farouk calculated. Our counter frequency won't be sufficient." "What do we need?" Lyran asked urgently. Before Solara could answer, Krex fired a weapon directly at her. Lieutenant Reyes dove, intercepting the blast with his own body. He collapsed, injured but conscious. "Lieutenant!" Lyran cried, moving to his side. "Complete the mission," he gasped, pressing his phaser into her hands. "Whatever it takes." Lyran hesitated only a moment before taking the weapon. With precision that belied her pacifist upbringing, she fired a stun blast at Krex, sending him staggering backward. Meanwhile, Solara had fully integrated with the emitter systems, her crystalline consciousness exploring its corrupt architecture from within. "I see it now," she called to Lyran. "The plague isn't just a weapon. It's alive, intelligent. It's adapting to our countermeasures." "Can you stop it?" Lyran asked, firing another stun blast to keep the recovering Varaxis guards at bay. "Not alone," Solara admitted, "but together, perhaps." She extended her free appendage. "Join with me. Our combined consciousness might overwhelm it." Lyran understood the risk immediately. Joining consciousness with the corrupted system might save Callistris, but at the cost of their own minds. Without hesitation, she connected to Solara, their crystalline forms merging at the interface. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The purple core of the emitter flickered, golden light beginning to pulse through it as the combined Citrari consciousness rewrote its fundamental code from within. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Maya watched in amazement as the Varaxis flagship's plague emitter suddenly changed color, from corrupt purple to healthy gold. "Captain," Kowalski reported in disbelief, "the emitter's energy signature has reversed. It's now emitting the same frequency as our cure." Maya understood immediately. They've done it. They've turned the Varaxis' own weapon against them. She opened a channel to the boarding party. "Lieutenant Reyes, status report." Through static and interference came his strained voice. "Mission. Successful. Captain. Elder Solara and Lyran have reprogrammed the emitter, but they're trapped in the system. We need extraction." "Understood," Maya replied. "Stand by." She turned to Torres. "Can we transport them out?" The engineer shook her head. "Not through their shields. They'd need to reach their own transport vessel." Maya made a swift decision. "Tactical. Target their hangar bay shields. Full power to transporters. We're getting our people out of there." The Vigilant's remaining weapons concentrated on a single point in the Varaxis shield system, creating a momentary gap just large enough for a transporter beam to lock onto the boarding party's signals. In the emitter chamber, Lieutenant Reyes struggled to his feet as the familiar tingle of the transporter beam began to envelop him. "Solara! Lyran! We have to go!" But the two Citrari remained locked in communion with the emitter, their crystalline forms now pulsing with both golden light and streaks of purple corruption. "They can't disconnect," he realized with horror. As the transporter effect strengthened, he fought against it, reaching for the Citrari. "No! We can't leave them!" His protest came too late. The transporter beam completed its cycle, and Lieutenant Reyes materialized on the Vigilance transporter pad alone. "The Citrari," he gasped to the transporter chief. "They're still on board. We have to go back for them." On the bridge, Maya received the update with growing concern. "We can't maintain the shield gap much longer, and the other Varaxis ships are moving to intercept." "Captain," Communications Officer Park interrupted. "I'm receiving a transmission from the Varaxis flagship. It's Elder Solara." "On screen," Maya ordered. The view screen flickered to show the emitter chamber, where Solara and Lyran remained connected to the system, their crystalline forms now pulsing with harmonized energy. "Captain Nakamura." Solara's voice was ethereal, as if coming from multiple sources simultaneously. Do not attempt to retrieve us. We have merged with the emitter system. If we disconnect now, the plague will resume. There must be another way, Maya insisted. There isn't, Solara replied calmly. But do not grieve for us. We are not dying. We are transforming. The plague was designed to consume consciousness. We are using that same principle to rewrite it from within. Lyran's voice joined Solara's, the two speaking in perfect harmony. The emitter will now heal what was harmed. The Varaxis ships are disabled. Callistris will recover. And you? Maya asked softly. We will exist differently, they answered. Neither fully Citrari nor fully technology, but something new, something that can bridge understanding between different forms of life. The image began to fade as the Varaxis ship's systems fluctuated. Captain, they said, their voices growing fainter. Tell our people, the greatest strength is not in violence or in pacifism, but in the wisdom to know when to stand firm and when to adapt. The transmission cut off as the Varaxis flagship systems went into complete shutdown. On the tactical display, the other Syndicate vessels began to retreat, their weapon systems offline. The plague is dissipating planet-wide, Torres reported, studying the sensors. The cure is working. Maya stood silent for a moment, processing what had just occurred. Then, she straightened her uniform. Set course for Callistris. Let's bring Dr. Farouk and Lieutenant Reyes home, and help these people rebuild. In the weeks that followed, Callistris transformed. The purple haze cleared from its atmosphere, revealing crystalline cities, once more gleaming with golden light. Though many structures had been lost, and many lives with them, the core of the Citrari civilization had survived. The Varaxis flagship, now dormant in orbit, became a monument and a research station. Occasionally, its systems would activate briefly, sending helpful data to the scientists below, Solara and Lyran's consciousness, still present in some form, still guiding their people. On the final day of the Vigilance mission to Callistris, a ceremony was held in the rebuilt council chamber. High Counselor Zenith, humbled by recent events, stood before a mixed assembly of Citrari elders and the human crew. For 10,000 years, we believed our strength lay in our absolute commitment to nonviolence, he began. We were wrong. Our strength lies in our capacity to change, to learn, to grow. He turned to Maya. Captain Nakamura, the people of Callistris offer you our eternal gratitude and friendship. Maya stepped forward, accepting a small crystalline orb that contained, she was told, the distilled knowledge of Citrari history and philosophy. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we accept your friendship, she replied. And we offer a promise. When one world calls, we will come. As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Farouk approached Maya privately. Captain, the Citrari scientists have been analyzing the quantum frequency Solara used to send the original SOS. They've detected something unusual. Unusual how? Echo patterns, he explained. Similar distress signals, from far beyond the void between galactic arms. There are other civilizations out there. Captain, other calls for help. Maya gazed out at the crystalline city, now healing under the gentle light of its star. Then we'd better answer them, hadn't we, Doctor? Aboard the Vigilant, the crew made final preparations for departure. Lieutenant Reyes, now recovered from his injuries, stood on the bridge beside Maya as they watched Callistris recede on the view screen. We broke a lot of regulations, he observed quietly. Yes, Maya agreed. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. She turned to Communications Officer Park. Send a final transmission to Starfleet Command and to Callistris. Message reads, when one world calls, we come. As the Vigilant engaged its hyperdrive, leaving the crystalline world behind, a faint signal echoed through the ship's communications array. Another SOS, from another world in need. Maya smiled. Plot a course, Lieutenant Kowalski. We have work to do. The stars streaked past as the Vigilant leapt into hyperdrive, carrying its crew toward new worlds, new civilizations, and the promise that no call for help would go unanswered in the vast, no longer silent stars.